Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
This world is changing more and more every day, and we've decided to change right along with it. My name is Dr. Lauren Michaels Harris, and I'm the president of Trajectory TV Network. At Trajectory, our vision is to provide a creative platform for top content creators and storytellers from around the globe. We're also dedicated to providing this world with content that is healing, educational, empowering, exciting, and above all else, entertaining and transparent. So right now, I invite all of you who believe yourselves to be global game changers to use the link found here and simply take a chance. Schedule a virtual chat where you'll have the opportunity to share your vision for your very own global television show with me, the network president. So use that link, and together, let's begin changing and healing this world, one story at a time. And remember, whether you have years of experience in front of the camera or zero experience, it doesn't matter. What matters the most is your desire to share great content through television and a willingness to share it with passion and with purpose. You might ask, how do I know if I've fallen in love with my purpose and my purpose has fallen in love with me? It's easy when you've lost your voice because you just can't stop talking about it. I'll see you soon.
It's your time, and the Becoming the Best You conference in St. Louis is where you want to be. This 3-day event featuring over 35 impactful speakers with 16 breakout sessions to choose from will help you achieve the best of your life for the rest of your life. Come and dance the night away on Saturday night at the Black Tie Affair and enjoy the live entertainment as we close out Tickling Your Funny Bone with comedian Jeremy Nunez. Get your tickets today and we'll see you there.
On July 4th, 1962, I found myself in the lost and found of mankind. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that it wants to be there. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that the person who lost it doesn't care for that lost item.
You are writing moments that people will learn from, grow from, and heal through for thousands of years. Together, we are co-authoring a unique moment in time. That DNA, those fingerprints, they're going to be gone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But it is your story that they will tell for thousands of years. But only if you leave it. Things that do not serve you must go. The longer you wait, the more time you give them to trick you into serving them. 22 homes in foster care, everything I wore as a scar, as a shame, things that started like Velcro on my spirit. After just a few months, then years, then decades, I had believed myself into believing that they were indelible tattoos. Sometimes we have to be broken down to appreciate the view once we start getting up. I want you to leave this place and know that you have been changed. Why? How do I know it's true? Because each of you has just changed me.
state of mind. But you walk right past me, pretending like you don't see what's yours for the taking tonight.
The train is here. It is not coming. It is here. Wake that ass up. Wake it up. Wake up. Friday, T to the G to the I to the F. T to the G. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. To steal a line from the Pointer Sisters. Good morning, and welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments, clearly. And I am your host, Dr. Lauren Michaels Harris, and I'm so excited to be here. We've got a great show in store for you, as always. We are finished with the BTYB, Becoming the Best You Takeover Week. They were here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but not today. Today, we got a new group in the house, and I'm so excited because we're going to talk about something we've kind of touched on it with different people from time to time, but not like we are today. So before we get the group in here, okay, I heard you. What in the world are you talking about, Lauren? We're talking about the big D word, DIVORCE. I had to practice that this morning. I kept getting the O and the R mixed up. 12th grade education. So anyway, Dolly had a big old song about it back in the day. And did you know, here are just some of the movies. And I didn't realize that all of these movies I'm about to name had something to do with divorce until I really looked at it. So, of course, Waiting to Exhale, didn't even put that one together. One of my favorite ones. Kramer versus Kramer, clearly. First Wives Club, yes. It's complicated. Never heard of it, but I'm going to check it out. Definitely, maybe. That one either. Crazy Stupid Love. Mr. ... Something's Gotta Give. And, of course, this one, my favorite of all times. This is the one that comes to mind when I think about movies about divorce. War of the Roses, right? Remember that one? Some of you are probably too young. I am not. Anyway, we're going to talk about a new mindset as far as how divorce works. Not just the process, but the leftovers. That proverbial bathtub ring that's left over when you let out all the water. So we're going to get a group in here. Jen Mitchell is here today, and she is the brainchild. Jen and also Jake Fulk, they're both attorneys, and then we have Christine Dodd, and I don't want to slight her. You didn't see her on the screen because I couldn't find her picture, but there she is. Aw, talking about the girl next door, right? She's a mediator. She helps, that person that sits in the middle going like this, holding people back to your respective corners. She probably has a bell too, right? And a whip and all kinds of stuff. But we're going to find out. So anyway, Jen Mitchell has a little something called Solace Divorce Mediation, and it is moving its way around the country, showing people how to work their way through an ugly divorce, maybe not so ugly divorce, but through every one of those letters and come out on the end with a heart, right? Is it even possible? Is it? We're going to find out. But before I get them in here, I'm doing well on time. We usually bring the guest in right at 15 after because I don't want my Aunt Candy looking down from heaven to banish me from heaven because I didn't do a Black History moment every day of Black History month. She was alive the first 2 years of the show. We're now in year number 6. And every February, she'd be like, my phone would ring. Mm-hmm. She said, you know what? You are going to end up on Jerry Springer one day. I'm not Jerry Springer. She said, Maury Povich. That was her favorite. And I would say, what makes you say that, Aunt Candy? She goes, because clearly you don't like your own people. So I'm just keeping her happy up there, Aunt Candy. And I'm going to show today's Black History moment really quickly. Let me get it ready. Here we go. This one today it's a quickie but a goodie. Take a look.
Black History Month in February is an ode to Frederick Douglass, who was an American social reformer, abolitionist, and statesman. He was a powerful speaker who escaped from slavery in Maryland and became a leader of the abolitionist movement in the U.S. He celebrated his birthday on February 14th.
What to the American slave is your 4th of July?
Frederick Douglass is courageous,
brave,
dynamic, intelligent, and authentic.
He believed in the nation.
Frederick Douglass fought with What?
He was a powerful speaker.
Abraham Lincoln, whose birthday is February 12th, is also part of the reason why Black History Month is held in February. He was the U.S. president who abolished slavery and made it the law in the 1860s with the 13th Amendment.
You've got almost 4 million people who are enslaved, and there was nothing to prevent Southerners from reestablishing slavery in the South unless this 13th Amendment was issued. He realized that something had to be done that was permanent.
There have been and still are so many pioneers who have changed the course of history, who have fought for freedom, who have pushed the boundaries, made people uncomfortable, and risen above the limitations society has put on them to look racism in the eye and fight it.
Because I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
And so what I understand fundamentally, having come from where I've come from, a great granddaughter of slaves in this country, that you can take what has happened to you, the pain and suffering and injuries of the past, if you recognize how they shaped your behavior and what impact they've had on your life and what you can do to change that, you can take that pain and you can turn it into power.
There is not a Black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America.
While there are many Black success stories, racism still exists today. In 2020, approximately 63% of Canada's Black population reported experiencing discrimination.
Well, there you have it. Today's Black History Moment. Man, you know what? Ever since I was this big, whenever I hear Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, I get just stuck. So grateful. So there we have it, the origin, which is nice because a lot of people didn't know that about Frederick Douglass, and that Black History Month is based on his birthday, and then it went out from there. So let me see. I want to tell you just a little bit about, I told you about Jen. She's been an attorney, family law attorney for 17 years. She is the owner and creator of Solace Divorce Mediation, where she guides couples through the divorce journey the same way they entered, with mindfulness, love, and respect. Jen's, except for those ones that got married at the little white chapel or whatever it is in Las Vegas. Can I get an amen? Anyway, her mission is to transform the energy surrounding divorce from destruction to empowerment and growth. And today she's brought along her good friends and fellow pioneers, we'll call them today. Christine Dodd is here. She's a mediator, wellness coach, and she's been living and practicing in Idaho, California. Oh, wait, Idaho, California, and Alabama since 2013. She has over 200 hours of mediation training, including studying at the Northwest Center for Dispute Resolution and the Strauss Institute. She has a JD, a BFA, and has spent over, this must be a typo, 40 years studying mindfulness. We saw the picture, girl, quit it, and wellness. And she has coached law school mediation teams, worked with legal aid and volunteer lawyering in Idaho, and her current practice includes working with Alabama ADR pro bono programs in Morgan County Drug Court. Then we have the only guy in the bunch, Jake Fulk. Jake is a partner at the law firm Cox & Fulk. He's spent the past 15 years practicing family law in his hometown of Normal, Illinois. Oh, we're in the same state. Hi, Jake. Jake finds helping people through divorce to be a meaningful challenge that called him after he experienced divorce in his own family as a teenager and worked for a legal office advocating for victims of domestic violence. He is colorblind and double jointed. Well, we'll just have to see what he can do. I hope you're warmed up. We're going to see what you can do with that double jointedness. And he's enjoying getting more sleep as his 2 young children grow. So there they are. So we're going to get them in here right now. And a great way to bring them in is, while this little clip is showing, I'm going to pop them all on the screen. So you guys get ready because you're coming in. But look at this. We're going to listen to a little bit of it because this is an actual story that matches what Jen Mitchell is living within, underneath, literally, her very own roof right now.
Once upon a time, there was a family in Brooklyn, and there was a wife, a husband, and two kids. One very, very lazy, and one that wasn't really paying attention.
Oh, I'm the lazy one now?
Yes.
The parents at one point were arguing a lot and decided to tell their two daughters that they were getting divorced.
We sat them down here in the living room, and we just told them we really loved each other and liked each other, but we didn't feel like we were still going to stay together as a couple.
Once the parents got separated and the kids realized that they were going to be in different apartments but in the same house, they didn't mind it.
How interesting that they're telling the story in the third person. What's up with that? Welcome to the show, Three Musketeers, Jen, Jake, and Christine. Christine, you're muted, by the way, but we know you're in a noisy area, so she'll unmute. Gotta get my chair right. How are you guys doing today?
So great.
Doing great. Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Great to have you. Jake, you can hear us, right?
I can hear you. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Appreciate your patience with that. Yeah.
Oh, no worries. Listen, I tried to find the most current figures, but all I found was for 22. Wait, I guess that is current because how do they know about 23? It hasn't happened yet. They were predicting 44.2% was the divorce rate. Do you guys agree with that number?
I think
That's almost half.
Yeah, it might even go up, I think, after COVID and people kind of restructuring their lives to be in alignment.
I do think that's right. Over the years, I've seen 40 plus as the most general popular statistic. Yeah.
That's kind of scary for people that have weddings coming up, and that are planning. They're like, well, why am I even going to do this? We already know how it might end out. The odds are nearly 50%. Now, I came into this business from 26 years in the event planning business, and every now and then I would slum and do a wedding. I'm just kidding, right? But I will never forget in one of my meetings, my initial vision meeting, if you will, with the bride and her mother. I remember her. I'll never forget. Her name was Tiffany. I said, so Tiffany, tell me what your vision is for this day. And she said, she looked me dead in the eye and she goes, well, I've always dreamed that for my first wedding, and her mother was on her fourth. So let's talk about what it is. I want to hear from each one of you, from your own seat, from your own experience. What do you consider the number one cause for this number being so high in divorce, if you can put it into one eggshell? Why don't we start with you, Christine? Oh, wait. How come we can't hear you? Okay, we'll start with Jake and come back to Christine. She's going to figure that out.
How about now?
There.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, and now I can't hear you. Well, I'll go ahead and talk and then we'll figure that out afterwards because you can hear me.
Yeah.
So at the moment, when someone's coming into mediation, I think that communication is one of the biggest issues they have. It's somehow there was a breakdown in the way they speak to each other, the habits they got into, and some of it's irreparable. Enough water's sort of flown under that bridge. And that's kind of where I see my role, is in the way that I can help them communicate and walk through and rebuild some of that communication so they can co-parent in particular, and move forward with their lives in a more healing, generous, growing, sort of rebirth kind of way from that experience.
Okay. So communication was the one word that she chose. Let's go with Jake. Jake, what about you, sir?
I'd say change, because we can be critical of people coming into marriages and not exercising due care and their crystal ball not being clear enough about what the future is. But to be honest, none of us really know the future, and people do grow and change. So I think there's some greater truth in the notion that the divorce process can be, you know, kind of a natural function of the growth and change that people go through. It's sometimes at different rates, sometimes in different directions. And the message we want to give is that that's really okay.
Okay, awesome. In the anchor position, Jen, what say you?
Yes, I agree with that completely. I think when people first get married, and I love weddings and I love love and I love marriage when it works, but I think when they first get married, they're the same energetic vibrations. That's why they're so attracted to each other. Like, oh, this is amazing. We're gonna be together forever. We're gonna love each other forever. But just like Jake said, as time goes on, as life happens, as children come in, as maybe you lose jobs, whatever may happen along your path, you change. And when you change, you grow, and your energetic vibration changes too. And so if they're not matching anymore, then they're not connected. They're not communicating. Like Christine said, they're not in that space. And the longer they try to force it, that's when the anger and the frustration and infidelity and all of those things happen. But just like Jake said, if we can just open people up to the mindset that when they're not vibing, it's okay. There are many different forms of relationship, and there's many different forms of love. You know, they can restructure this relationship that isn't working to a co-parenting relationship that is amazing.
Okay, great. So I'm going to throw some questions out. I don't know if you've heard them or anything, but you know, I gotta ask. So I'm sure, I don't even know if you can answer this in one way or another, but let's try. Let's take 3 different examples. Let's take the couple that's been married 2 years or less. Let's take the couple that's been married right around 8 to 10 years. And then let's take a couple that's been married 25 years or more. Which one of those categories is the most heartbreaking when you are dealing with the couple? The one that's barely gotten started and you know they're just learning and they need to give it more time? Or the far end of that bookend example, the people that have all of those decades invested, there are grandchildren and people that don't want to see that happen. Is there one that resonates with any of you more than the other, where you just shake your head? You know, kind of where I'm going in there. Hopefully, anybody just jump in.
I would say that regardless of the stage of the marriage, and certainly we see like more and more of what commonly termed older divorces, gray divorces. But regardless of the stage of marriage, I think the heartbreak, the tragedy, the darkness kind of comes in when people can't be on the same page, when they're not on the same page about the process that they're, you know, if one of them wants to go through, that they're inevitably going to be going through. And so I think the disharmony between the couples at any stage of the marriage is where the tragedy comes in. You can be on the same page and do this in a functional way, regardless of how long you've been married. If there is, I think, as Jen would say, if the energies are still, you know, harmonious, still matching, we're still on the same page about what it is that we're going through here.
Okay.
And I'd like to add to that.
Uh-oh. Start over. Wait.
Oh, we can't hear you. Well, while you're figuring out, can I pipe in?
Yes. Pipe
So
away.
I love the question, Lauren, because the question illustrates the work that I feel I'm here to do, right? So even presenting the question of which one is most heartbreaking, I don't see divorces as a heartbreaking experience from the outside, from me looking at them. I know from going through my own divorce and working with hundreds of couples, it is a heartbreaking experience for that person. But the beauty and the message that I want to convey to everybody is that that is where the growth comes, is from that heartbreak, from that difficult time. And the way that I see all divorces, if it's 2 years, if it's 8 to 10 years, if it's 25 plus years, each of those people were brought into one another's lives at the exact moment in time that they were meant to in their life journey. And from their partnership, they learned from each other. They healed, you know, from each other, from all the different things they needed to heal from, and they grew from being together. And if they had children, you know, they had those exact children that would never be those children had it not been for the two of them being together. And those children may change the whole wide world. So there's always reasons for everyone being in these relationships. And I just see, you know, when it's not vibing anymore, It doesn't have to be heartbreaking for everyone around them. I think that's part of this broken belief system. Everyone around them saying, oh, I'm so sorry, what happened? I want to train people to change the way they're looking at this, of looking at it like, when someone shares I'm going through a divorce, their response instantly isn't, I'm so sorry. Their response is, oh my gosh, this is so exciting for you. I'm so excited to see what you learn about yourself and how you grow and how you use this as a vehicle to change your whole life. Because that's what it can be if we shifted the way we looked at it.
Wow, you got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
You got a lot of work to do.
But
I know if I was getting divorced from my husband and I said that to somebody and they went, ooh, how exciting, I'd be Will Smith at the Oscars all over again.
But the thing is, everything leading up to the decision to get a divorce is really heavy. Everything leading up to that's when that conversation of, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, what's going on? That's when it, I feel, is aligned, right? But when they make the decision to get the divorce, when one of them says or both of them say, we are getting a divorce, that response isn't helpful. That response is continuing to perpetuate that victim mentality for that person. Oh, I feel, you know what I mean? And it's happening. Yeah. It's happening regardless. It's the same. And kind of the best way that I can describe this, Lauren, is COVID, which has just been a beautiful parallel for divorce, because COVID and divorce have very similar energies to them. COVID was very difficult. It was very dark. It was filled with fear, filled with overwhelm and stress, all of the same feelings that divorce has, right? And in COVID, we all four of us, right, know people during COVID who the whole entire time they were fearful. They didn't go out and see their friends. They didn't go out and see their families. They bleached their groceries. They watched the news all day. They ate a ton of food. They maybe drank a ton of alcohol. They didn't exercise. They didn't take care of themselves. And they went through that experience in a very low vibrational way. And they came out and they're not doing amazing right now, right? But the same global pandemic for everybody, you also know people who chose to look at that time from a different viewpoint. Instead of looking at it from the fear base and overwhelm and stress, they chose to look at it as, oh, this is amazing. I don't have to go here, there, and everywhere. I can use this time to do those projects at my home that I've wanted to do. I can use this time to exercise the way that I've wanted to and to fuel my body the way that I want to and read the books that I've wanted to read to better my life experience. So it's the same global pandemic for both groups of people, but totally different ways of going through it. And the only difference is the way they chose to look at it. Okay. So the only thing I'm saying is divorce is very similar energy. You can choose to look at it as, this is awful. This is terrible. I can't believe this is happening to me. This is the worst thing in my whole life. I hate this person. Or you can choose to look at this as, okay, this is one of the most difficult experiences of my life. All of the therapists say that. But through the most difficult times in my life, that is when I'm given the opportunity to grow. So if I use this time to take really good care of myself, just like COVID, the second group, take good care of myself, really focus on what I need to focus on and heal, I am going to come out of this stronger. And that's all I'm saying, is it's just a change of perspective that we need to do globally.
Well, yeah. And that's how it is. That's how it is with all things. But again, a lot of work is going to have to happen, because this mindset didn't develop overnight. And you've got all these other things involved. If a person, say it's, for instance, it's a Catholic couple, and the church, this and the other, you're not supposed to this, and there's all these things, barbed wire fences, prisons, if you will. And so, but everything that has changed the world started with the same challenge. A lot of work in front of us doesn't mean it's not possible. Christine, you had something to say, and let's see if we can hear you now. Let me see if I can unmute her. I can. Nope, you chose to mute it, so you have to do it. Can you unmute, Christine?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yay!
See if I can unmute her. I can. Nope,
okay,
you
good.
chose to mute it, so.
And you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about in divorce, what really strikes me is the wounds. When you have someone, whether they've been married for 2 years or they've been married for 30 years, where the divorce itself triggers them in a way that is so painful, they're just a puddle and they don't know how to start their life again. And I think that's really where, Jen's inspiration can serve a great portion of the public.
Awesome. And Jake, you're the only male here. Let me ask you something. Is it different from a male perspective when you are in between these couples, you know, as opposed to the two ladies? Do you think that?
Well, yeah, I think we certainly start out with that conditioning, doctor. We do, and we all bring our conceptions of the male and female energies and roles in the divorce process and the advocacy process. But I think that there needs to be contribution from both types of energy, and there needs to be respect for both types of energy, male and female, and the trappings of both on the behalf of the advocates, on behalf of the court, and behalf of the people involved in the system. I think that we start out, or used to at least, more often, hopefully, start out with the notion that we need a testosterone fueled advocate, whether they were male or female, a testosterone fueled advocate to see our interests through in this adversarial process of divorce. And that's an aspect of the male female traditional energy dynamics that that we need to be conscious about and see that as damaging rather than meritorious. However, I'm going to stand up for some of the male energy and say that it has a role, that there are things that are inherent to either either side's packages that are valuable and shouldn't be done violence to in the divorce process. Both sides should have things to say, but I think that we need to be careful of our conditioning and set down some of those things that maybe aren't helpful anymore from our conceptions of what is male, what is female going into this process.
Perfect. Now, I've seen all of you smile at some point during this interview so far, and I don't know if you filed your incisors down or what, but divorce attorneys and anyone involved in divorce proceedings is usually, just like an ambulance chaser in the minds of people. They get a bad rep, if you will, because they're ferocious, kind of what you were just leaning towards, Jake. So what about your peers? Those who are like, I'm going to take him for every penny he's got, that kind of a thing. And people calling around. I have known friends who have gotten divorced and they call around and talk to the biggest divorce attorneys first so that their partner can't go there and this and the other. And it's just so. Let me ask you this, Jake. I heard a lot of terminology that is not usually associated with this kind of a thing, energy and this and the other. So why now? What do you think is happening that people are like you are saying we have the power to change the way this process is looked at, lived through, and lived with? Why now? What's going on in the world?
You're talking to people right now who have experience in the system, substantial experience in the system. And I think it's that experience that kind of gives us the perspective to see in retrospect that individual couples need to get this message more loudly across the board. This is a change that needs to happen at individual spouse and parent level, but it needs to catch and it needs to spread as a mindset. People need to take control and make this the new norm as a perspective. We can present an opportunity in theory for like a revolutionary approach for many divorcing couples and parents. It can put them on a higher track for the rest of their lives in the problematic adversarial path provided by the system. And we need to see the light that divorce doesn't have to be dark, and it won't be if it's done right. And I think we realize that over time. So contested litigation of divorces needs to be seen as a necessary but last resort, a damaging rather than prudent option. A lot of judges that will tell parties that when handling it's only necessary in limited circumstances would be our perspective. A lot of judges will tell parties that contested litigation is more damaging than helpful, but when they get that message from the judge, that's often too late a time for it to be meaningful in the process. It does take a commitment to your higher ideals, kind of a commitment to your best self, commitment to your children, your partner in divorce. But we're suggesting and realizing through our experience, those are actually great things to commit to, things to be encouraged for people to commit to, instead of committing to maybe lower instincts, survival instincts, fear instincts in the process. It should be encouraged rather than seen as foolhardy to be real, open, compromising in this process. And, you know, we want to share that because we think that people are in better position at this time to hear that, realize that, take control over their own lives in this process. We'd really like to spread that message.
I think it's so important. Thank you for that, Jake. I think it's so important. And particularly so, you know, we're going to get into what's coming tomorrow. There's a 2-hour television special. We'll tell you about that with Jen and some other people, all about this very mindset. So let's talk about motive. You know, because you go into courtrooms and, you know, motive has a lot to do. There was motive when the people sat down, for instance, Tiffany from all those years ago. I always wonder if she told her fiance that, you know, at first, I'm sure she did not. But motive going into the divorce process. Have any of you ever been in a situation where it is out of integrity, where the client wants you to do something that is so mean-spirited, so evil, if you will, that you said, you know what, I don't think I'm the right person for you? And how did you deal with that? Anybody? Jen, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, so I started my career, the first 9 years of my career, I was in the courtroom as a litigation attorney, and my perspective now is very different. But then, of course, I had clients just out of control, and it's emotions, because divorce is just as much a legal process as it is an emotional process. And in the courtroom setting, they're only equipped to deal with the legal. They can't deal with the emotions. So you have all these people, all my clients when I was a litigation attorney, with all these emotions all over the place. And the only way they can kind of direct those awful feelings and emotion is through pleadings. So asking their attorney or telling their attorney, I need this, I want to take him to the cleaners, I want that. And it's their emotions that are out of control. So yes, I was in there for 9 years. In the last 8.5 years, it has been all love and empowerment and helping that emotional process. Recognizing it and giving those people resources and tools and tips that they can apply to feel better. Just even little things like breath work, take a salt bath, meditate, walk in nature, things like that, just to help them. But I'm sure the other two have really good stories.
Oh, I'm sure.
For this, because they've been in it.
Christine, you're a mediator, but are you just like these two, a divorce attorney?
Yes. I don't know if she can hear us.
Okay. So what's
I am.
So what's the difference?
I've got a little bit of I've got a little bit of a delay because I'm working on two things, but what I notice when people are really out, like in that scarcity thinking, they're just really out of align with themselves, because when people get really evil about what they're asking for, I think they're out of alignment, right? They're not with their core and their heart. And what I notice is that's usually about past incidences, past behavior. And if we can, so I spend some time with them to bring them into the present, and let's start crafting what your life is going to look like next. Because it's not just, and we can bring in experts around finances if that's the biggest issue and there's finances to be, worried about, or how is this going to look? The facts are what they are, right? Your finances aren't going to be better necessarily after your divorce, because we're going to divide everything. I mean, there's just some realities to what we can do in a mediation or in a litigation, but what we can do in terms of how you feel about yourself is way more important than the money, or, it's how your children grow up in this environment, how you move forward in the future. If we can shift their thinking, it's really powerful. Really powerful tool.
Lori Whitney, great.
Forward in the future. If we can shift their thinking, it's really powerful.
Oh,
really powerful tool.
Lori Whitney. Okay.
I love that it repeated, because that was very important. If we can shift their thinking, it's very powerful.
Yes. So Lori says emotional classes would be a great idea for divorce. I agree. Now I want to ask this question, and because I'm still so interested in how you all three of you, navigate around your peers that say, nope, I'm sticking with the thrash, and it's almost like they're heavy metal attorneys, if you will. You know what I mean? The mosh pitters. And so, because this is a new and improved way of doing things, right? And you're pioneers. You truly are pioneers. So what do you do when you tell people about how you approach this and they look at you like, what in the world? They just don't get it. What do you think needs to happen on the front end to help people? Because there's still going to be divorces, but what is the piece that's missing when people move into the marriage space? That is why they don't have it when it's time to move out of that same marital space. What big piece do you think each of you was missing from the beginning? Was it because it wasn't based on love but a hookup? Was it wasn't based on love but she's a trophy? I leveled up, got rid of the old one. Because that's another thing. People that divorce, a lot of them, it's not just one. A lot of those people in that 44%, 44.2 are more than one. So it's like they're addicted to it, almost like people who get piercings, tattoos. So why do some people keep doing the same thing over and over and over?
Because it's love. People love love. That's what life is. Life is all about love and joy and finding that connection and feeling that energy. I mean, it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. I think the biggest problem, Lauren, is that people go into marriage with this social conditioning or this programming, whatever phrase you want to use, right? And it's all goes back to the beginning of the show when you listed all those movies that had divorce in there. Well, the majority of those movies that you listed, the image of divorce that is shared, with the world is always destructive, is hiring those cutthroat attorneys, is fighting, is spending years in court and spending tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, the kids being affected. And I think that is the root of the problem, is people go into marriage with this mindset, not only of divorce, but of marriage itself, and the conditioning for generations of time of, marriage is till death do you part. There are good years and bad years, there's a sacrifice. And I'm not saying that it's not hard. Marriage is absolutely hard, but it doesn't need to be that. It doesn't need to be conditioned in us saying, once you get married, you have to stay in there. It doesn't matter how unhappy you are. It doesn't matter how much you fight. It doesn't matter how much your kids are in this very toxic environment. You must stick it out. You don't need to stick it out. It is what it is. Like I said before, relationships flow in all different directions, and it doesn't have to be awful. It can be very loving. I mean, even in my own case, like you shared in the beginning with that commercial, I was divorced 3 years ago, and my co-parent Aaron, I love him. I love him in so many different ways. We have 3 children together, and we relocated from Chicago to Boulder, Colorado. We all live in the same home, the 2 of us, our 3 children, our 2 cats. And it's not romantic, but it's amazing, and it works really well. And both of us have this mindset of, well, relationships flow, love changes, and who knows where it's going to go. Maybe we'll go back to that. Maybe it won't. And just being open to the whole journey and being grateful, for that partner, being grateful for that time, being grateful for that experience, because weddings are fun,
True, but there are going to be people who say you're making this too easy for people to get out of. Where's the commitment? This, that, and the other. And so I want to ask about that, but I also want to talk about something we haven't mentioned yet. And I don't even know if it's still a thing, but back when I was a kid, I hear a lot of my friends' parents say that, well, we're separated, or we're in a legal separation. Is there really a thing? Is that a real thing, a legal separation? And how do you help people? Do you bring that in as an option? Like before you cut it completely? Jake, I see you doing some.
Yeah, I'm resonating with your questions here. So legal separation, certainly an option, but I don't have a whole lot of clients traditionally who have ever chosen it because they see it often as a predecessor to a likely divorce case that they might as well get started a lot of the time, and or it goes so much of the distance that I think it represents often an inefficiency in people's minds. What does it do? It largely terminates the financial bonds going forward between the parties, but it leaves the bonds of matrimony intact. So that is an option that exists, but it's really something that you don't see people opt for, in my experience, a whole lot. With regard to the notion of, I don't think we're trying to be flip about just get married and see what happens, because more just we recognize that we don't have an algorithm or perfect recipe of ingredients that we can sell people when they're getting married of this is going to work. We know this is going to work because you're following the right recipe, right ingredients. I'm happy to say I have a very happy marriage, but I could not articulate exactly why it is that this marriage is going to last forever. We just don't have that superpower as humans. And so given that, we're trying to present what seems like a more desirable, what is a more desirable and big decision alternative for people to make it when this does arise, and one that makes it less scary, more positive. I'm still very much in the mosh pit that you described, Doctor. I'm still very much, involved in many contested cases and litigation. But I think that the prospect presented by the vision here, and I think that I think that what Christine said about the insights in the problematic is extremely wise. Jen is a pioneer to me, and she is presenting an inspiring vision that I think if it's adopted at a greater level, already is, I believe, showing proven results, and it's one that should be attractive to more people. I think that's what we're trying to indicate.
I agree. Hey, Christine, talk about why did you choose to be take this moderation piece instead of staying in your lane, just as going to court as the attorney? Why be in the middle? What is it about it that made you feel like, I think I can do more good as a mediator? What is it about it that made you feel? Who is that? Okay. So creepy. Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm listening to you with a delay. Whoops. There we go. Okay. So, I really see. Okay, when I look at people, I see the beautiful light in them. When I sit in a mediation, I see that both parties are right from their perspective. When I sit in the husband's room, I understand exactly how he got to where he got to, from where he came from and who he is. And when I sit in the wife's room, if they're a, male-female couple, that's the same thing, right? It's, I see exactly why she feels, and I see how they're triggering each other, how they're pushing each other's buttons, and, what they thought the marriage was going to do for them. Like sometimes people go into marriage and they think it's going to fix something inside of them. It's going to make them feel more whole or more complete. It's going to make them look better to their peers. And so when we can allow them to grow out of it, kind of like what Jen was talking about earlier, and Jake, that people grow and they move and they flow in their lives, as they move towards their best selves. And sometimes the vision of what they thought their life could be with someone didn't fulfill them in the way that they're actually seeking inside themselves. And as they find that inside themselves, the relationship doesn't serve the same kind of loving purpose. And like Jake, I'm really happily married for 21 years, madly in love with my husband. And we spend a lot of time paying attention to each other and trying to hear each other's needs and being patient with each other. And that took a lot of practice. I don't know how I got so lucky, because I could have just as easily married someone who filled a gap inside myself, when I met him. And instead I married someone who wanted to be on the journey with me. And I don't know exactly how that happened. I just feel really lucky.
Yes. And that helps. That helps in the work, I'm sure, because it is in fact possible. Let me ask this question to the group as a whole. Do you feel what I'm about to say, this terminology, is a setup for failure? Because I know when we were getting married, when we were approaching our wedding, the subject came up and we both said, nah, when we looked at each other. Of course, I thought it might be more beneficial because at the time, my husband had more assets. But now that we're in here, it's flipped. And we talk about this all the time, i.e. the prenup.
Yes.
Is that because that puts a lot of doubt? Why they want a prenup? They plan on leaving me? Why would you da? What? How do you feel about that? Is that of the devil? That movie with what's his name? Is it? How do you feel about that? Does it necessarily have to mean they're probably going to leave me one day? Anyone?
I don't think it means that at all. I think we need to remove the stigma associated with prenups too. A prenuptial agreement, I see that as just a recognition of, what both Jake and Christine have said too. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in our marriages. And like I said, I love weddings. I love marriage when they work. But the beauty of a prenup is if you do it when you're in that good space together, you're saving yourself from a lot of potential issues and difficulty down the road when you're not in a good space, when it's difficult to communicate with one another. So I think prenups, I would love if prenups were just kind of a part of every wedding and it just removed everything, the negative connotation with it. It's just like, look, this is what we're going to do. Just in case. We're not saying that we are going to, but just in case, this is what we've agreed to when we're loving and totally vibing with one another. And then we'll adhere to it if things don't go the way that we thought that they would.
It's really the same stigma that divorce has.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think that the prenup, what Jen said about doing it when we're both in a good space is key here. Not rushing it and doing it in a respectful, above board manner is key to it kind of not being an awkward process. And it's just kind of an acknowledgement, like I said, that we don't have the superpower of knowing that we're not. It's acknowledgement that we're not the perfect relationship expert. If we can acknowledge that much, that we're not the perfect relationship expert who knows more than anybody else who ever got married in the whole world, and we can both acknowledge that much, and we can do this in a comfortable way, then maybe the stigma doesn't belong,
I get it. Let me see how we're doing on time. We got about 3 minutes left. So I'm going to put the last question out for each of you to address. Solace, the mediation, because I want to make sure I talk about this. You guys, let me get this in real quick. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time until 3 p.m., including a 30-minute Q&A at the back end. Love Through Divorce, a television special featuring Jen Mitchell, who's here today, Martine Lopez, Dr. Michelle Hanna, the self-vows coach, Barry Selby. Oh, there's my hubby Pooh, Dr. Brian Rybczynski, family and couples therapist, and Rebecca Clark. They will all be coming together to have more of this conversation in depth. That's tomorrow. It'll be all over my social this afternoon. And reach out to Jen Mitchell if you'd like to know. It'll be all over the E316 network. So mark your calendars. Jen?
And Jason is joining us too.
Oh, Jason Cisneros.
Yes.
Well, know a little something about divorce.
Yes, he will throw in some flavor. Yes.
So there you go. There you go. Here is the last piece. I already think I know the answer, but let's just put it out there. One of the big pieces that hurts so many couples outside of all of the obvious ones that we have talked about, here's one. I believe that this system that you have, this opportunity, if you will save a lot of friendships, because a lot of people talk about, because even my husband, he was in a 17-year relationship. They weren't married, but when they left each other, the friends went one way or the other, as if it was one way or the other. Like we can't be friends with both of you now, clearly. Do you feel that what you're doing here, this work, will help even that? Talk about that as we get out of here.
Absolutely. Yes. I always coach all my clients. You can just share 3 different points with your friends and family. We both agreed to this. I am so grateful for everything that I learned from this person, and for our beautiful children, if there are kids involved. And if there are kids, we're committed to being the best family that we can be for the rest of our lives. And closing that whole door of gossip and choosing sides, and everyone just recognizing these 2 people are going through one of the most emotionally difficult times of their lives. No one else outside of it knows how they feel. It's none of their business, really. And just give these people love and give them support and continue their friendships, because they need you. They need you in their lives right now, and they don't need you to pick one over the other.
Being a shit starter. A lot of people want to get in on that stuff. Girl, let him get away with that.
It's human nature.
Kill her. Get her. I wouldn't be right. I know.
It's on the cover of People magazine. You know what I mean? It's human nature, but I want to eliminate that because it's a very difficult time, and just give them love. Just give them love. Don't make it harder.
Jake, final thought.
Oh, here. I think that this is just a message we want to get out. Isn't the idea that divorce is a battle a little bit strikingly perverse? War is the backup option to a relationship that was characterized by and built on love. What if we just kept on leading with love, just in a different day-to-day context, a different day-to-day routine? So I hope that we can go that direction.
Boy, I feel like I'm in here with pioneers today. And Christine, what say you? Final thought, please. Are you going to unmute? Christine, Earth to Christine.
Well, I think, in terms of friends and family, it's really an opportunity to encourage everyone to not escalate any conflict, to not work out their own pains through your relationship, but to allow you and support you in having a really beautiful transition in your life. It's a time of healing. It's just like giving birth. Yes. It's like, let's be with each other.
Ooh, she dropped the gauntlet on that one, y'all. I got chills. That was awesome. That was awesome. Listen, I want to thank each and every one of you, not just for your work here today, but for the work you do each and every day in changing the narrative as far as this divorce thing, changing the way people leave their lives when they come through divorce, and then how it will affect how they lead their lives after divorce. I think it's powerful work, and I know that you're doing work that the world will grow from and learn from and heal through for hundreds and hundreds of years. So I just want to say that and get it out of the way. Listen, to all of you out there, just remember, it is never about just one thing. It is never about mistakes. I don't believe the universe, God, source, spirit, greater than, whatever you ascribe to, makes mistakes. They're merely keeping our journeys interesting. So listen, get out there today and be the very best you can be. Be the change you'd like to see in the world. And remember, whatever you do, mean it, because that will be how it becomes meaningful somewhere in your universe. Jen, I see your hand.
I have that. Be the change you wish to see in the world behind me.
There you go. There you go. I really love what you guys are doing. Jake and Christine, I want to give you the invitation. If you'd ever like to come back on the show solo or with something else, feel free. I would love to have both of you. I'm absolutely adoring what you're doing, and I will support it in each and every way I can. I mean that from my spirit. So
honored, would love that. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yes,
Lauren,
absolutely.
thank you so much for having us.
I want all of you to watch tomorrow. There's a lot to learn, and we can do more together than we could ever hope to do separately. So
Absolutely.
All right, you guys.
I love you so much. I love you
too. I love you guys. I'll see you Monday morning, God willing, on the front porch as together we create another unique moment in time right here on Bathrobe Moments. Have the best weekend ever. So long. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone. Great job. Great job.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind.